here with X-Rite Pantone, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar on accelerating color development in a textiles workflow, presented by X-Rite and Pantone. As you can probably tell, I'm battling a cold, so I'm going to hand it over to our presenter, Bob, in a second. But before I do that, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. During the webinar, you will all be muted. However, you do have the opportunity to submit questions throughout the presentation using the GoToWebinar control panel. There should be a questions section there where you can submit your questions. We will be reviewing these throughout the presentation, and we'll hold them until the Q&A session at the end. You will also receive a follow-up email through GoToWebinar within 24 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. We have two presenters today, Bob Koprowitz, who is a technical application specialist with X-Rite, and Chantel Sullivan, who is a product manager for the fashion, home, and interiors at Pantone. Both bring strong backgrounds in textiles and are eager to help you solve your color development challenges. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Bob.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, everyone. I just want to go over a short slide presentation outlining what some of the color problems are and how we see how they are addressed. So first thing, why is color so important? Color counts for 60% acceptance or rejection in production. Typically when there's a cut and sew error, it doesn't manifest itself as deeply as badly or off dyed fabric. So it's more critical than ever to get the right color and to get the color right. So why is color management difficult? Well, we have a lot of balls in the air trying to get color managed correctly. So first thing, consistent color between production runs or suppliers, right? So it may run on a different shift. You may not have good color control lighting to see a difference, as you see in the two sweaters on the left. Or you could even go to two different suppliers making the same thing. They're going to end up in the same selling location, and that's going to create a large contrast. It gets even more complex when you have multi-component things. Here we have, it looks like a pair of child sneakers. The ones on the right are matching, the ones on the left are not matching. And you can see these things may have come from 3 different suppliers before they're actually put together. So there was a chance to nip this in the bud at the supplier end, and also when these three materials came together at the final packaging. So with color, we always have this left brain, right brain sort of thing. Left brain meaning, this emotional response to color, the feeling we get when we look at color. But then there's the right brain. How do we control color so that it is consistent? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Basically, mixing digital and visual emotional responses. So there are several places where the color can go wrong. So from design, you've got someone comes up with a great design for, say, a ski jacket or something like that. In specification, they make the final decision on what that color is going to be, based on trend or different opinions within the design team. But they pick a color, and hopefully they pick a color that's appropriate for the materials that are going to be put together. Things can fall apart in pre-production, which is okay. You're going to basically, we call this the lab dip stage, where I've got the color. I want to make sure that each one of my suppliers, say going back to those sneakers, and make sure the folks who are making the laces, making the plastic, and making the canvas part all can make the same color and they look good together. If in that stage, a slight decisions have been made either because the vendor can't create that color as closely, or it's just an oversight in the pre-production approval process, and you approve something that's slightly off shade, and then that can begin to go. There's tolerances around everything. So you get into production, you get some aqua color instead of the deep blue, and then there's a play in the system for how how much that can wander. So the final product, you might get 4 different colors, as we have here, finally specification, all kind of in the same color family, but certainly not matching color. So what we're trying to do, again, in our right brain point of view, is look at a controlled color communication to make sure all players are looking at the same thing. So we've been hearing this for decades, that speed to market is important, and the market is continually speeding up. We're trying to reduce the time from inspiration to final production, and trying to get these integrated in physical workflows, which we'll talk more about later. You've got local design and global production. You're making the same thing in several places, and all going through a product lifecycle management system. And then the way people buy has changed now. There isn't a Sears that was going to sell 500,000 of some plaid shirt the way it used to be 30, 40 years ago. There is people see things online, they buy it on Amazon. And so because there are less big players, designers have to be more cost conscious on how many of these things are going to sell. So there is a kind of a right sizing of the budget affecting design. And then there's that immediate response to trend information, where everybody's instantaneously connected today. And just being able to see something and buy it the next day has value. And so there's less time that can be spent in color development. We're also being affected by digital. So again, supply chain optimization, mass customization, all these things mean less advantage, price advantage on volume, and more trying to fill as many niches as possible. And when you look at the consumer expectations, they want high quality, but it's got to be affordable. They grab onto whatever is the latest thing in social media. You can buy the same thing in a store as well as online. And there's just more and more variety, which means we're slicing the volume packages smaller and smaller. So everybody knows this, and 91% of brands are investing in an increased digital presence. You can buy groceries online now. And just about everybody is investing in speed to market reduction. So there are 5 places where X-Rite and Pantone can kind of smooth over any kind of miscommunication. So we're going to be talking about color as a way to communicate, and communicating color as a way to control production. So right from the start, you make a decision in design, it goes to specification. There's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be tugging back and forth, going between what color is wanted in specification and what pre-production can actually get out of the vendors in terms of reproducible color on those materials. And of course, there's always issues in production. Machinery can wear down, people make mistakes in formulation, all those sort of things. So what we're going to talk about is connecting from beginning to end, right? So inspiration is your trend color forecasting, specification, determination of color targets, communication conveying color targets to the supply chain, of course, production, we're comparing the reproduction to those color targets. And this process can be very difficult. So, in inspiration and conception stage, you inspired, you get samples, you name, you ship, you review, you start again trying to get to the right one. That can take 10 to 20 days. We think with a good system, you can get that down to 4. And the design color palette development, you've got the lab dip review, lab dip shipping review over again. It can take over a month easily. We think we can get that down in 10 days. And production. So we've got pre-production and formulation, the lab dip stage. You formulate, formulate, get a production run, quality control, shipping, round and round. We think we can cut that by a quarter as we go to production and quality control. So it's these gaps in between these stages where information has to be conveyed reliably. Okay, so let's talk about some of those inspiration tools. From Pantone, you can buy the Pantone Studio app, which goes on to an Apple iPhone. We calibrate in situation so that you can record multiple colors and see just exactly which color. So this is great for people who see color they like in the field, in the store, walking anywhere and saying, I like that color, that would be great. So you want to quickly identify that color, and we put it right into the Pantone library and show typically complementary colors that would go around it. You can even share it now to the Creative Cloud. So another thing that we've been very successful with is the capture. So it captures color, gives you the identification right on spot. It's preloaded with over 10,000 Pantone colors, and you can store up to 100 different inspiration captures. You can talk your notes in, saying where you found it, and it also has a time and date stamp, so it's very organized. And so you also are updating libraries all the time with the latest Pantone colors when connected to the internet. Traditional Pantone physical tools are also still very popular. So the cotton swatch library, the cotton chipset, and the passport all are great reference tools to be able to identify, to see a color, identify quickly in the Pantone universe, and now be able to bring that to the next stage in pre-production. Okay, so definition. At this stage, what we're talking is, how do we have the right colors? Right, so Pantone always has a consistent library, but it is always growing. So cotton is our biggest library. It's got a smooth surface, so the colors work with the surface, the appearance, I should say, works with a lot of different fabrics. And we're very careful to make sure that the dyes we use are available globally. So if you have to make this in Vietnam or China or Central America, you'll be able to do that. We also have other substrates, not as large as the cotton library, but still significant. The nylon colors, we see a lot in sportswear, and polyester as well. The latest, well, it's not the latest, had it a while, but we really expanded it now, is the fashion home and interior metallic shimmers. So it's hard to specify this, but if you have a sample, now you can pick that number. You can see here with the unique features, you can have sheets, you can have a guide, you can have the coded color set that everybody can at least have a visual look at how things are working. And we now have what's called the Pantone Connect extension for Adobe Creative Cloud. So now in your Creative Cloud tools, you can access all Pantone colors and libraries, including fashion, home, and interiors. You can quickly go through colors, and you can also convert the colors that are native to the design tools into a Pantone color, whether it be hex, CMYK, or RGB. You can find a physical color sample. It can even get the closest Pantone harmonies. These are cross-reference matches across all Pantone libraries and compatible with Adobe Textile Designer plugin for Photoshop. Powerful tool. Okay, communication. This is where we get from node to node in that whole process. So the Smart Swatch is the real link that we have between visual evaluation, visual comparison, to hard digital data, which is going to remain true no matter where you send it. And so we're very careful in how we produce these smart swatches. They're within a delta E star of 0.5 for cotton. The neons and optical whites are at 1.0. This is very tight. This is not a delta E CMC. This is actually a delta E star, which is much tighter. And we have great reproducibility. You're not going to see 0.5 except in very rare case. And they're available in all 2,310 cotton colors, also the 21 nylon brights and the 203 polyester colors. So the key takeaway here is you've got something that's very close visual to every other swatch of that type that's somewhere else in your production chain is being used as a visual match. And there's also available a digital target that can help you with dye formulation and QC once you go instrumental. So what we do, we capture it, this color, with our top of line spectrophotometer, the X-Rite CI 7860. It's an inter-instrument agreement of 0.06 delta E. Very, very tight inter-instrument agreement. It is the best in the world in this product category. Product validation. We're going to approve each one of the dye lots to maintain this 0.5 delta E star of the defined spectral information. And for post-production, each one of these 4x4 cards is cut and converted, and it then is re-verified under controlled D65 lighting. So everything is a tight match beginning to end. So just a brief explanation of what is the digital data. Well, it is basically the fingerprint of a color. It's how this particular fabric interacts with light. So it's going to be, once you've got this measurement, you can send that spectral information to all of your partners, and they will be able to reproduce that color to a very tight tolerance. So designers use it to communicate color coming out of their software, and they can use it to validate the final production. So when it comes back in, they can use a spectrophotometer to measure it. Dye houses use this to formulate dyes. So the important thing to note about the spectral curve, it is illuminant independent, meaning that it is a true characterization of this material. So if you have two different formulations that have very tight spectral curves in relation to each other, then it will match in D65, it will match in illuminant A, it will match in any fluorescent or now LED light source. So the spectral curve is what guarantees that that the closer you follow that spectral curve, the less metamerism risk you'll have. And so the spectral data that comes with these smart swatches are available in two formats: the QTX, which corresponds to the data color tools, also into X-Rite software, but also the unique CXF, which is Pantone data, and also works with X-Rite tools and Pantone Live and a wide variety of other digital tools. So the nylon, cotton, and polyester libraries all have spectral data attached to it. So for just a fraction of the cost of the swatch itself, you can have that digital data and use that now to verify and communicate color with your partners. Okay, so now we have the tools to get us to the point where we actually make the stuff. So this is where the X-Rite tools come in. The light booth, especially if you're talking about the spectral light QC, provides a grade A D65 light. Now what that means is that unlike any other light booth, the D65 light that you get from the spectral light QC is very, very close to the CIE specification for D65. So this is your visual link to the digital world. And that connection, along with how the benchtop spectrophotometers, in this case, the 7860 and the 7800, have the best inter-instrument agreement. So what you see as we go through these tools, we're trimming back the error that you would see in inter-instrument agreement. So if you have a smart swatch and you view it under a light booth, and you have that digital information that you can communicate to your formulator, you're very, very tight on the pathway to consistent color across vendors and lines. What ties all that together is the color eye control software two levels. The color IQC is typically what you're going to find in the QC parts of factories, but more importantly is what you're going to find when you are specifying the color. When you're picking the color to go, you could take the information from that smart swatch, load it into the software, and then using that data, make that the target for every other step along the line in production and pre-production. Color eye match is a higher level. It's the same software base, but it is used to generate formulation based on your constraints. So you can say that I want to match this color as tightly as possible with the available dyes and make sure it matches very closely under D65, Luminant A, or Cool White Fluorescent. And it is optimized to hit one round matches. It takes a while to get it up to that level, but once it's there, it's very, very efficient. So then connectivity, how do we bring all this together? Well, you've got one color language, right? So you start with the spectral curve at the inspiration stage and goes all the way through to the final delivery, physical to digital, digital to physical. So all this digital information is really the guiding light for the physical process all the way through those 5 stages. Okay. Just a little more about X-Ray. We have 900 employees worldwide, 17 offices and production facilities, countries, 75 countries around the globe with presence, and 578 dealer agent partners. I think we're uniquely poised to provide a total solution anywhere in the world. So these are the 3 areas where we really concentrate on: the Pantone inspiration and design, in product development, where Pantone kind of hands things off to X-Ray, and of course in manufacturing, where we do the formulation, where we do the final quality control. And we're not just in fashion. So you can see that we're very big in paint. Just go into a Home Depot and ask them to match paint, you'll see. Very big in packaging. Inspiration through realization. You can select colors, you can create the colors, and then you can make sure those colors are correct using the spectrophotometer and the software. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about also is color maturity. Not everybody can start right at the top and have all these tools. So we really see 5 different levels. So we have a visual only, which means it's uncontrolled visual. You take it to the nearest window, or there's a favorite light you like to use. That's not a controlled situation. You really need to do a visual in a controlled environment like a light box, no distractions to the right or left or in front of you, and you've got controlled lighting. It's the same lighting all the time. The key here is that if you do things in a standardized way, it makes it easier to communicate color and find out where the mistakes actually happen. And so in that second level, where you do have the light box, you've got physical standards that are tightly controlled, and you know that that's going to lead you now to say, if I've chosen this color, there is a spectral curve assigned to that. And when you go into either the lab dip stage or just coordination stage, stage 3, you can access those digital standards, the QTX. So represented here, we have a spectrophotometer, the standards, and those little squares of light represent QTX for various colors. Right, so we're measuring, we're objective, we're out of the subjective area at this time. And then when you connect across the world, your measurement can go right to a formulation lab on the other side of the world. And you've got, along with the physical and digital standards, connectivity all the way through. As a matter of fact, in our software, you can communicate directly with your partners in our submit view. The next stage is something that we think is really powerful, and it's going to make a difference soon. So that is being able to characterize the appearance of the color and the material. So let's go through this. I talked through this already. and is what is material appearance? We have a color, but we also have gloss. There's translucency, there's transparency, there's texture. How do you do complex fabrics like there you've got those gold strips on that that white back matte surface. When you're looking at very complex products like this, how do we characterize that? How do we take advantage of digital? Well, we have something called TAC, total appearance capture. And this is a virtual rendering on the left compared to a photograph on the right of the same material. Each one of the facets that we have here are actually captured by the total appearance system and are reconstructed. So we're even getting gloss, we're getting fine grain, the randomness of that apparent leather structure. So virtual equals reality, right? One of the things that you want to be able to characterize when you're in the digital design stage is things like draping. How does the fabric bend? How would it bend around an object? So when you take a material like you see on the right or left, you can now make a prediction of how it's going to actually fold over something. And having that at the beginning stage, along with color, means that you will be able to radically accelerate how the digital workflow starts. You're getting over a lot of the initial stops and starts that we had on those that diagram earlier. How powerful is it to say this is what the sneaker is going to look like if we use these materials? So this is just around the corner, and I would ask you to stay tuned. It's straightforward. It's not a simple system, but we would capture on the left. We have a special kind of theater that we place the objects in. We communicate this, can go through a couple CAD systems now, not in the textile world, but in other areas. And then we can compare. So what you see in that virtual light booth on the right is the digital sample on the left side of that little light box, and the actual sample on the right side on the scanning fixture. And it's just incredible what can be reproduced and the information that's captured. So stay tuned for this. So I guess we're at the point where we have time for questions.
Great, thanks, Bob. As Bob just mentioned, we'll now open it up for Q&A. So if you have any questions that you haven't submitted already, please do so within the control panel. Okay, Bob, one question that has come through, it says, could you tell us more about Delta E star? What system is this?
Sure. Okay, so the original history of LAB begins with Richard Hunter, which he now is, his company is manufactures spectrophotometers just like we do. So what Richard Hunter did was he came up with the first LAB system. Before that, there were just clumsy systems that really didn't define color in a way that was useful. And so he came up with the concept of LAB. And he described color difference as, you know, how far away in color space are we batch to standard? And he termed that a delta E. And the actual formula is the square root of the sum of the differences of LA and B, which mathematically ends up being the radius of a sphere. So this is what people use for years, and some people still use. It's appropriate to use for making the same product over and over again because it shows consistency. So the Delta E star is actually an improvement over Hunter. If you just see a Delta E without a star, that means it's Hunter LAB. When you see Delta E star, that is CIE Delta E. So in the 60s, they made a correction to some of the math that Hunter had in color space, and came up with this Delta E star. The problem with delta E star, when you're doing things like trying to match components together, is it doesn't take into account how the human eye sees color. It's only a difference in color space. And so what you'll see as a standard in the textile industry is delta E CMC, which is based on calculations. David McAdams came up with this theory, and he proved it, that in LAB color space, the human eye sees color difference in an ellipsoid shape. So where we'll allow more variation in chroma than we will in hue. So, which makes sense evolutionary wise. We're concerned about whether the fruit is ripe or not, right? Is it ready to eat? And so the hue difference is what makes the real difference for our discernment. So hue is more important than chroma, which is more important than lightness. And so the delta E CMC was the first big ellipsoid tolerance that was used commercially. It has a foothold in, got its foothold in the textile industry because that was McAdams' field he was playing in. He was a member of the Color Measurement Committee, which is where the CMC comes from, of the Society of Dyers and Colorists, which is the British version of the American Association of Textile Chemists and Colorists. Friendly organizations, but not actually integrated. So with this CMC tolerancing, no one used or should not be using delta E star, but delta E star is appropriate in characterizing how consistently an instrument reads and how consistently a product is made over and over and over again. But if you're trying to match colors in a formulation stage, you really need delta E CMC. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, great. So the next question is, hello, I'm a textile designer. What is the cost of the extension for Adobe CC?
I wish I knew. I only found out today that it was officially a product, but Adobe might be able to, or is that our product? I forget. Stephanie, I don't know, or Chantel, I don't know if you have an answer on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, so pardon my voice, but the Adobe Color Connection is an extension with Adobe. So if you have Adobe in any of your software packages, the extension is a tool where you can import all of the Pantone colors. You can also do palette development as well as export your colors as well. So it's like an extension that's within Adobe.
Is there a price on that?
The price, I believe it's at right now, it's $3.99 a month, like $3.99 a month. It's in their Adobe store.
Right. So it's subscription then. Okay.
Yes, it is a subscription model.
Great.
But if you have your Pantone, if you have Pantone formula guides that you purchased recently, the new ones, they have a free access code in there.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Okay. Stephanie?
Okay, it does not look like we have any other questions at this time. Oh wait, here comes one. How do you get the X-Rite to show the metamerism on multiple light sources in formulation of the color in the system of color eye match?
Well, you can actually add that to a property. So if you're familiar with the software, there is one view, one window where you display all the color metric data. So that's where you have for a standard would have the delta L, delta A, delta B, or delta C and delta H if you prefer, and the total delta E. You can add to that the metamerism. You'd have to choose which 2 or 3 illuminants you're concerned with, and then you would choose to show how metameric those samples are to the batch by looking at 1 to 2, 1 to 3, and 2 to 3, meaning the first, second, and third illuminants. So to do that, if you have the software in front of you, all you have to do is right-click on that color metric page, and then go to properties, and under properties, you will be able to choose the indices, and it's a scroll through, and you're just basically add them to the display. A quick and easy way would be to display all three LAB color space, the rendered view, and you can see just their positions compared to the CMC ellipse and compared to the standard, you see how much it goes in which direction. That's a good visual cue. But if you need the numbers, that would be in the standard multi-trial view. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, here's another one. If I'm purchasing Pantone smartwatches from a retailer, can I still get
the digital data?
This special, yes.
Yeah, so you can go online at Pantone.com. Chantel may have the actual spot, but you have a barcode on the back, and that barcode has a unique identifying number, and you can actually I think it's $5. You can download the spectral information that way.
Yes, that's accurate. And now you can actually bundle. So when you're purchasing online, you can bundle the QPX at one point and have the swatch card and the QPX data come at the same time.
Yep, thanks. Stephanie?
And I think that about wraps up our questions for today. I'll give everyone maybe just one more minute. If anyone has any other questions. Otherwise, while we're waiting, I just want to thank everyone for attending today, and thank you, Bob and Chantel, for presenting and supporting. And if you ever have any other questions or would like to schedule a demo of any of the solutions presented in this presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to X-Rite or Pantone. And again, thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. And Stephanie, get some Ricola.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, one last question before we end. What is the Pantone app name to use in Adobe CC?
I just had it up there. Let me see. I have to go back because it's a very long name. Let me see. I have to go way back. There it is. Pantone Connect extension for Adobe CC. That whole top line there.
Great. Yep, and it looks like that's about it. I have another question about viewing the webinar, but just to reiterate to everyone that a recording of the webinar will be sent out via GoToWebinar within 24 hours. So if you missed the whole webinar or want to share with colleagues, you can share the link that way. Here's another question. Is Pantone planning to implement how to find colors using L, A, and B numbers?
Well, Chantel, that would be a digital tool, right?
For clarity, yeah, sorry, I was going to, yeah. So if someone is trying to cross-reference using LAB values, if they go to Pantone.com and go to the color finder, the color finder will actually allow you to search colors with LAB values, hex values, and it'll compare it back to the closest. It'll give you the closest Pantone colors to those values.
Oh, I learned
you can also go the opposite way too. If you have a Pantone color that you love, you can go to the color finder, type that in, and you can also get the data there as well.
Oh, great.
Great.
Any other questions?
I tried to find Pantones that match a color, but in the Pantone website, I can use only RGB and CMYK.
Say that one more time, Stephanie, sorry.
It says, I tried to find Pantones that match a color, but on the Pantone website, I can only find RGB and CMYK.
Chantel, do you want me to go there?
That's why she.
Yeah,
that's why
you can go ahead and answer them.
She just explained that's why she asked if it's possible to use LAB.
She is correct. It is only sRGB, hex, and CMYK. I do know, and this is something I could follow up on, we do have an ability to look the LAB values.
So questioner, if you could leave your contact information, we can get back to you. Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today. Okay, great. She sent her contact information.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Chantel. It was you made it easy.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Thank you both. Sorry that we both sound super sick.
Yeah,
because this evening.
And thank you attendees for your time. I know it's valuable, and I hope you found some value in this.